All right, so yeah, today I'm joined by Our Life in Horror to discuss underrated 2000s horror movies. So thanks so much for coming on. How's it going?
Good.
Good. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. So you know, the 2000s were a great time for horror. They had some really good movies, some really bad movies with a load of extreme gore, and I love gore in horror movies just because. Well, I'll take that back. I love practical gore in horror movies. A lot of the really bad CGI gore, like with the blood and everything, that just never works, which I don't know why they still use, um, is not always the best. But I mean, what's your guys' thoughts on the 2000s for horror?
I love the 2000s. It's when I started getting into horror. So for me, the 2000s feels very nostalgic. I'm also into a lot of like the torture porny stuff.
Yeah,
That's my thing. I also really prefer practical as well. But yeah, like people slightly older than us would always say like the 90s or 80s is nostalgic to them, whereas 2000s is my era.
Mhm. Yeah, I think the 2000s is a underrated period for horror. We did two top 10 lists for this. Like this is
Yeah.
the only decade we've actually done two top 10 lists for. So that just goes to show that nostalgia playing a big factor in it, and the amount of access we got for horror at that time was very impactful on us growing up.
Yeah, I like that you chose underrated though, because I actually don't know if I talked about some of these in our original lists on our channel. So,
I definitely did not, because I forgot about some of these.
yeah.
yeah. I mean, I've never really done a top 10 for like underrated 2000s horror. I don't think I've even done a top 10 for regular 2000s horror, so this will be a first for me. So yeah, why don't we just like get into one of you guys' number five then?
Sure.
Sure, absolutely. Ladies first.
Me first? Okay.
Absolutely. I'm curious.
Okay, this one is going to come to no surprise from Brendan. We've talked about it recently. It is a guilty pleasure movie for me. It is by no means a good movie. It's very bad, but it's one of those so bad it's good. It's Shredder, and it is a snowboarding slasher movie. Low budget. It's a slasher, so you got some gore. It's not like top of the line gore or anything, but it's kind of a sexy movie. It's funny. It looks like it was made by a bunch of skater boys. Like the music, the dialogue, it's very very skater. And I just have a lot of fun with it. So we just did an episode on it actually, and that's why it came to my brain. I was like, okay, I'm gonna throw it in for underrated because you can have a lot of fun with this one, especially if you have like a few drinks with some friends or something and watch it. Like you can kind of make fun of it and have a good time. I don't know if you've seen it, but
Yeah, I've never heard of that before. That does sound interesting. Just because I feel like we don't get a lot of like movies like that. Brendan, what's your number five then?
My number five is, this one's a little bit talked about still. This is probably the most mainstream sorta, but I don't think it doesn't get it. I think it needs more love, but it's Behind the Mask: The Rise of Leslie Vernon. So it's a horror comedy, it's a mockumentary, and it just shows the behind the scenes of what becoming the notorious serial killer would be like. Like Leslie takes inspiration from like Freddy and Jason and all the classic slashers, and he is just so charismatic and funny that he literally steals the whole show of the movie. You got Kane Hodder comes in as like a cameo. You got Robert Englund playing like as the MacGuffin. This movie is just so much fun, and it's such a blast. I know a lot of people are turned off by the third act and how it kind of switches off from the mockumentary, but I kind of liked it still. Yeah, and very cool mask and weapon. I love the sigh.
Yeah, I mean, I have a movie similar to that later down on my list, which I think features those exact two like horror legend cameos in it as well. Because they love to appear in like lower budget movies, which is great. But yeah, so my number five is actually like the most talked about movie on my list. I just put it on here because I have to bring it up anytime I talk about 2000s horror just because I like it. Which is Hostel. I see way too many people dogging on this as well, so I have to just talk about it and glaze it for a little. I love the movie. It's great. Some of the best gore in like a horror movie. For the 2000s, it started some of the more torture porny bits. Great like twist halfway through where like the first half is just some random sex comedy, then the second half is just like brutal, intense torture. I thought that was really interesting, and I need like the TV show now. Like TV shows used to take like a year to make. Why we heard like nothing about this show? I really hope they haven't cancelled it.
I love Hostel. I am also a fan of the Hostel movies. I like the second one a lot too, with the bloodbath.
Yeah.
And I am also very looking forward to this TV show and hope it's not canceled. As soon as they announced it, I was like, yes, bring us back Hostel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta figure it's probably gonna be like an HBO or a Showtime production because like so they can get away with showing more
I hope so.
on screen
Yeah.
rather than like keep it CW and then it's gonna be all like PG.
Yeah, don't tame it down.
Yeah.
Give us what we want.
Yeah, I mean, I from what like I've seen, I think it will probably be Apple TV, which I know nothing about their gore standards, but that's just because the people who like worked on Severance are working on that, so I think it's going to be like Apple TV Plus or something.
Oh,
Okay, well, yeah, they probably be able to get away with it more since it's just going straight to streaming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what's one of you guys' number fours? So one which you think is underrated, but like still not too underrated.
I am gonna go with Frontiers, which is a French extremity horror movie. I'm a big fan of French horror because they don't hold back. They're extreme. Frontiers is really good. It's about a group of criminals that are on the run. And the journey that they go on is wild. It reminds me a little bit of Texas Chainsaw with this family of cannibals. It says that right in the description of the synopsis, so I'm not giving anything away. And it kind of reminds me of that mixed with almost a little bit of Hostel or The Seasoning House too. It's dirty, it's brutal, and it's just so good. I love Frontiers.
Yeah, I think I've heard of that before. It's either that or it's the one where it's like the friend who like she thinks she's like saving her from some big serial killer in a truck, and then it's actually just like her. I can't remember what that film is called.
High Tension, right?
Yeah, High Tension.
Yep.
I must be thinking of that, but I think I've heard of Frontiers before.
It's good.
Yeah, if you like gore, you should definitely check it out.
Yeah,
I will then, because I've done like 3 of these videos, and like my list of movies that I need to watch is just growing like each video.
I hear you. Never ending watch list.
Yeah, so what's your number 4 then?
So my number 4 is still maybe not. This movie did win an Oscar, so I'll give it that. But it's Hollow Man, starring Kevin Bacon and Josh Brolin. It is essentially The Invisible Man given a modern twist. I love this movie. I'm a huge Kevin Bacon fan, so like that's like one of the reasons why I grew up with watching this movie. I think it's incredibly unsettling watching Kevin Bacon go from this profound scientist and becoming invisible, and then slowly watching his descent into madness as the movie goes on. I love it. I think it's fantastic. The special effects too, even they don't hold up quite as well as what they did back then, but I still think they were Oscar worthy for sure.
I watched this one with you, right?
Yeah.
I don't really remember.
There's an SA scene in it.
I don't remember.
Yeah, even though he's invisible, but yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, that's kind of his like pivot into like full madness.
Okay.
I mean, it sounds interesting. I have that on DVD, but it's just sort of sat on my shelf. I've never like watched it yet. It goes for about 40 other movies, but um, I will eventually get around to watching it since I love the original Invisible Man. I like the Lee Winnell remake. Don't know how he went from that to Wolfman, but that's besides the point. But yeah, so my number four is actually a movie which probably no one will expect an underrated movies list because it's mainly just called bad by everyone. But I like it because I was half asleep while watching it the first time. Um, and I watched it solely for a joke and I actually enjoyed it. And that's Evil Bong. It's so stupid. It has some of the worst like acting I've ever seen in a movie besides the Evil Bong sequels. Because I thought they would sort of contain some sort of quality because the first one's out like all right, but they just keep like going down each movie and it gets so bad. But this first one's actually really fun. Like just the idea of like this nerdy dude who just moves in with like three stoners and then like his first experience with like any sort of like drug or anything is almost dying like makes me like die of laughter because that could probably happen in real life, but it's also kind of a bit exaggerated just slightly with this movie. I don't think I don't think it will actually kill you.
We haven't seen it.
Yeah, no, I've kind of stayed away from those movies. Well, we watched Ginger Dead Man last year for Christmas, and they're made by the same company.
It was rough
with the same budget. So
I understand how people can enjoy them though. Like,
same.
They are cheesy.
Yeah,
and...
they must have made like what 10 of them.
Yeah,
I think they've made 13, but the thing with like full moon feature like movies, you're either gonna get an actually decent movie or you're just going to get a pair of boobs in front of a green screen for like an hour and a half, and that's your movie.
That's too funny.
Yeah, I believe it.
It's 50-50. But yeah, so what's your number three then?
My number three is The Ruins. I watched this one for the first time last year, actually. I just watched it on my phone at work, and I was actually pretty impressed with it. I enjoy movies about a group of friends on like a vacation. So like it gives me kind of Green Inferno vibes with the whole jungle. They're going to like these ancient ruins, and I did not expect it to go where it went. I obviously don't want to spoil anything for anyone that hasn't seen The Ruins, but it's got an interesting killer, I guess, creature. I don't know how to explain it. But there was actually a scene that got me. Like, I thought it was pretty brutal and hard to watch. So I don't know. I think The Ruins was pretty good, and I saw it had pretty low ratings on Letterboxd, but I still wanted to bring it up because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. If it's like Green Inferno, then I probably check it out.
Setting wise.
Are you talking about like the Eli Roth one, or are we talking about like really, really old Cannibal Holocaust 2 Green Inferno type thing?
Oh, the Eli Roth Green Inferno. More so just like the setting of the jungle, I would say.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it doesn't tackle the same subject matter.
No, it's not the same subject matter. Sorry, I was just describing the atmosphere, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still got a brutal scene, like a pretty hard to watch.
Oh yeah, it's just not like tribes attacking these people.
No, but it has similar aspects, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know how to explain it.
They're stuck on like an Aztec pyramid.
Yeah.
So it's got the same vibes.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. In my opinion.
Yeah,
it is a good movie. Sean Ashmore's great in that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's in it.
Yeah, it's a surprisingly stacked cast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So well, what's your number three as well then?
My number three is The Fourth Kind.
Oh.
I think this movie is genuinely scary. It freaks me out. I think it's freaked me out ever since the first time I watched it. It stars Mila Jokovic. I'm just gonna try to pronounce her name. It's kind of like a reimagining, but they play actual footage side by side
Okay.
of the quote unquote true events. And doing that, I think, is a very effective way of like scaring you, essentially. Yeah, I think it's genuinely creepy. Great imagery. I think a lot of the cinematography is really good in it as well. And the like quote unquote real performances are so good. Like I believed it to a T. I went and researched the shit out of this after I got done watching this movie.
I feel like I've watched it, but I don't remember it. I probably watched it back when it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember it at all.
You don't like sci-fi movies though, so
No.
yeah. I really like this one.
Yeah, that also sounds interesting. I don't think I've ever heard of it before, but I'll add that to the ever-growing list of every time I do a collab or just open an app, it just grows like slightly the list. Yeah, so my number 3 is The Descent. It's a really cool movie. I like the setting, which is the main reason why it's on this list. I think like a film set in like deep in a cave is like cool as hell. Mainly because like where I used to like live, which was like in Spain near like a mountainy area, you could walk up the mountains and there would literally just be like caves and just a random door in the middle of the mountain. I have no idea why it was there. I was like too terrified to even look behind it. I and like the more you look, the more you just find like random stuff. Like I found another door a different time. I don't know what they're doing in there. I'd like to know. I'd like to know now. But why do you need like 17 doors around the same mountain? But that's besides the point of The Descent. The Descent's really good. Yeah.
I really like that movie. It's super claustrophobic. I watched it for the first time last year, I think.
Yeah, I showed it to you. I had to show it to you. Like I knew you needed to watch it with the lights out too.
Yeah, it creeped me out.
Yeah, I know it's a classic. I almost put I almost put a movie on that came out the year after that has a similar premise, but I watched it today and I'm like, is it really that underrated? I still enjoy it, but like I don't know.
What movie?
Maybe we'll talk about it if we do like some honorable mentions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Love The Descent.
Yeah, me too. That's a good pick.
Yeah. So, what is your number 2 then? And then we'll do some honorable mentions right before the extremely underrated one.
Okay.
Okay.
So mine is one that we watched for the first time not long ago, and it is called Bug. It's got one location of a motel that this girl is living in, and I love a motel setting. Like it just feels very like I don't know. I just like that setting for some reason. I like rough around the edges characters that are broken, and she's a very broken woman who meets this guy on a night out, and he comes back to her motel, and they're literally just talking for the first half of the movie, and yet I was so invested. And then he starts seeing these bugs in the motel room, and I'll just leave it at that. It is a very psychological movie, and it is very interesting to see where this movie goes, I guess. I don't want to spoil too much, but it is really, really, really good. I was blown away by it. I think you were too.
Oh, absolutely. So it's directed by William Friedkin, who also directed The Exorcist.
There's that.
It stars Michael Shannon and Ashley Judd, who are two like grade A actors. Especially, well, not so much Ashley Judd. She's so much has like kind of dropped off the map. But like at the time, Ashley Judd was huge. But yeah, fantastic movie. It was so good.
Really good.
Yeah, I've never I hate how like long this list of like films is getting now, but I'll have to watch that as well now because that sounds really interesting.
It is really good. I have to say this. We started this segment on our channel where we are counting every movie in this collection. And
Yeah.
we have to do it in multiple parts because of how many movies there are. And we did our first part the other day and that we counted 93 movies and I had only seen 4 of them.
Yeah, I'd only seen 10.
4. 4 out of the 93. I'm like, oh my God. And we have not even like made a dent in this collection. I'm like, I have a lot of movies to watch. So don't feel bad. I get it.
I mean, I think I have like a similar issue because when I like go out, so like over here we have like a shop called like CEX where they sell like DVDs, games, and electronical stuff. I don't know. And I'll always end up buying like a bunch of stuff, and then I'll just like come home. I'll look at it for about 5 minutes. I won't even watch any of it, and then I'll just put it on my shelf. I
you buy
never
more.
end up watching any of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Same here. Yeah. We'll go to like antique markets and like browse around, and then all of a sudden we come out with like probably 20 movies that were all $1 each, and
they get put in the drawer.
They get put in the fucking not seen drawer, and the not seen drawer back there just fills up and fills up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. What's your
Yeah.
number
So
2?
what's your number 2 then?
Shay, I'm curious if you've seen this one because it is I'm not sure if it's a British film, but it is set in England. It is Reign of Fire.
I've never heard of it.
Neither have I.
Oh, guys. Okay. So Reign of Fire is I'm going to call it a monster action movie. And it very much kind of plays this along the same line of story as like how Jaws is set up. So it's got like a very like monster, and it's like set in the future, actually. I just learned. But it stars Christian Bale and Matthew McConaughey. And basically, dragons have taken over the earth.
What?
And for a movie that was made back in like 2002 to 2004, these dragons still hold up, and they're all CGI, and they look incredible.
Never heard of this.
One of the dumbest decisions in movie history happens with Matthew McConaughey's character, but it is still so good. There's a scene where like they like drop parachute to try to capture a dragon. That's like so thrilling and intense. There's a horrific scene where a dragon like comes and tries to like it basically takes us from like modern times back to the Stone Ages or Dark Ages. Okay. Because these things have just like fucked our world up, and they go like for like actual dragon lore. So it all like is like makes sense within our like own continuity of myths of what dragons would be like.
This is horror?
I'm considering it horror.
Okay.
Yeah, it's dragons. They're monsters. It's a monster movie. Come on, let me have this.
Yeah, that's fair.
I love it. I don't think it gets nearly enough praise for what it is.
Interesting.
I'll have to add that to the list because that does sound interesting. But that sounds like a lot in one movie.
It is for sure. Like I think the movie takes place in like 2028. Wow. And then there's another time jump because the movie starts out with Christian Bale as a kid, and then all of a sudden he's like 35.
Oh.
So there's a few time jumps, but it's easy to follow. It's a lot of fun. I highly recommend checking it out.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'll definitely add that to the list because that one also does sound really interesting. I'll probably just binge a bunch of movies this weekend now. I'll just do that. Like get like 10 or 20 off of the list. I don't do anything anyway. So my number 2 is Hatchet, the first one. I feel like this one doesn't get like talked about enough. I feel like the second one is the one which people always talk about. I still really like the first one. Is I can't remember if I'm thinking about the right kill or not. Is it? Have you guys seen these movies? Just like before I
Yeah.
say it. All right, yeah.
Yeah.
Is this? I still can't remember. Is this the one where like they like
Yep.
take part of the head off and then like you just see the tongue and like the teeth and everything in there?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
the
one of the
jaw.
first,
Yeah,
one
all
of the
right.
first
Yeah,
kills.
okay.
It's awesome.
Yeah, the kills are great in this movie. They're so fun. And when I'd never seen these movies until last year, and when like I was told, all right, you're gonna love the second one more than the first one. The second one's like the best one. I didn't really like see that. I thought the first one was the best one. I feel like they mainly say that just because like of the lead of the second movie.
Yeah.
Oh, because Danielle Harris is in it.
Yep.
Yeah, hot take. I prefer the first actress.
I do too.
I didn't like
Yeah.
the actress change in that. And they originally wanted to have Danielle Harris in the first one, but then decided she was too big for the movie and decided not to go with her. And then they changed their mind. I'm like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Just stick with one
Yeah.
person. You can't just change your mind now. I love the first one though too. I like the main guy too in the first that we're following.
Yeah, he's some comedian that's been in a bunch of stuff. Like he was in Dodgeball and
Yeah.
can't remember what else, but
Yeah. I like all the Hatchet movies though. Like they're all bloody.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I love the Chinese guy that's in everyone.
yeah.
He's just so fucking funny every time.
The book, what's it called? I Survivor.
I Survivor.
So that book I bought for you for Christmas, Valentine's Day. I don't know. You can actually buy the book he writes, and it is actually like inside. There's actually writing, like it's an actual book.
Yep.
I think that's from the Victor Crowley movie.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Victor Crowley movie. But I think you can go to his website and purchase it there, and you
Yeah.
can purchase it signed and stuff.
Yeah, but good pick. I love Hatchet.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, so before we get to the number ones, pretty much just the films which you guys think are really underrated or just get like dogged on way too much, which is pretty much what my one is. Do you have any honorable mentions for underrated 2000s horror?
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah,
Since some written?
I didn't write any honorable mentions, so you go for it.
Okay, so the movie that's like The Descent is called The Cave.
That's what I thought you were gonna say.
And I rewatched it today because I was curious about how it holds up. And it's basically a mixture of like The Descent and maybe I'll give it to like a combination of like Alien versus Predator, just in like the tight quarters and maybe the creature. But it's very like a Giger-esque design for these creatures. I really like the design. I think it's more of a guilty pleasure movie for me than it is an actual good movie, but I still had a lot of fun with it. And then I gotta bring up, I think it's like 2001's Python with Casper Van Dien. There's the blonde kid from the Karate Kid movie. I can never remember what his name is, but Robert Englund's also in it, and it's a really bad giant snake movie. Like this giant snake is like genetically engineered to be a killing machine, and it gets loose in this small town. But it starts off with like a lesbian scene. So as a young man, I was very excited to watch this movie. That's for sure. It's just a lot of fun, and it's ridiculous. The effects, I watched it I think last year, maybe the year before, and the effects are awful, but I still just have a great time with it.
Okay.
That's what I'll leave for my honorable mentions.
Just Googling quickly because I didn't do any honorable mentions, but one I'll bring up is the movie May. It's just super cringy. The main lead is super cringy and awkward. You get like second embarrassment just watching her converse with people, and it is so tough to get through. And by the end of it, you're like, well, what the heck was that? But at the same time, like it's good because it makes you feel uncomfortable, I guess. Yeah, I'll just throw that one out there, I guess, randomly.
Yeah. For mine, I guess I'll just put High Tension because I mentioned it earlier and I haven't really written any down.
Okay.
So yeah, High Tension, cool movie. What is your number one then?
My number one, I decided to go with Splinter. I feel like this one doesn't get talked about enough. I only discovered it, was it last year?
Yeah, you bought it for me for something.
Yeah, it sounds like I only watched horror like last year. Every movie, I'm like, I watched it last year,
Yeah.
but been watching horror for a long time. But these movies, apparently, I watched last year. Um, but Splinter, I had only discovered last year, and I was shocked that I had never heard of it. It's got like it almost starts with like a backwoodsy feel, but then it leads to this one location that the movie sets at a gas station. And something about gas stations just feel dirty and creepy. And it is a creature feature, which is surprising because I hate creature features. So the fact that I really enjoyed this says a lot. Yeah, the creature's super gross and like just nasty and weird. I'll leave it at that. It's a really good creature feature, one location, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that was a suggestion from Planet CHH Christian.
Oh, was it?
He had a short, and I was flipping through, and I saw it, and I put it on my wish list.
Okay, shout out to Christian.
Yeah.
So, what's your number one?
So my number one is a sequel, and I think it is probably the third best in the franchise, and that is Tremors 4: The Legend Begins. I never hear anybody talk about this movie. This is the last movie that was made by the original production team, Stampede Films. After that, they were taken over by somebody else, and I think the sequels all go downhill from there. But this shows how the legend of the graboids and perfection started way back in the 1800s. Like, it's a Western basically, but Burt Gummer's ancestor returns, and he gets to play like a different character where he doesn't like guns, and by the end of the movie he loves guns. So there's that, and it just has like a whole bunch of other ancestors to the original film, and I think it's a lot of fun. It shows graboids like at the start of their life cycle, like right after they hatch from the eggs, which we hadn't seen before. So, and it brings a little bit of horror back into it, but a lot of comedy as well. And I have a lot of fun with this. I think out of the 7 movies, this is the third best one. And nobody ever talks about it, so I had to bring it up.
You love your Tremors.
I do.
Honestly, I do enjoy that one, the franchise. I'll also completely agree with you. Those sequels are abysmal. When they made like sand into snow, that's when you know like they had like no money for those movies.
Yep, they put that cold blue filter on it and said it's winter.
Yeah. And then of course like the last one that they did, I don't know if they'll ever make another one, because they didn't even release those like last few in cinemas, so I doubt it. But like the last one was okay, and then they like did what they did at the end of it, and then I didn't like it.
Yeah, I was in the same boat.
But what's the point in even doing that, especially when like they film like an alternate scene as well? Why not just use that?
I think the idea is they wanted to keep it open ended in case they do decide to make more, because it's kind of nice because now the rights to the movie, the franchise has resorted. It's been reversed back to Stampede Films, so hopefully we can get like a good legacy sequel here with maybe Kevin Bacon returning, and then have Michael Gross return as well. Maybe get Reba McEntire back into this franchise. Like, what's she up to? She's got to be hurting for a paycheck by now, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, I would definitely watch that like the moment it releases. But my number one is actually 13 Ghosts. I can't remember if this is like really, really late 2000s or just early 2010s. Like, I'm not sure. But if it has like a 2 at the beginning and it doesn't have a 2 later in it. That's all I remember. So it's not 2020. So I'm counting it. This movie is like hated on so much, and I don't know why. But it's fun. It's got Matthew Lillard as just this, a different character, thankfully, from just Stu and Shaggy. Like, you know, I feel like he's sometimes just like typecast as some like just like some like idiot in a movie. Or now like all the kids are gonna know him as William Afton, which will genuinely pay me in a few years. But that's besides the point. This movie's really fun. It's got some really cool kills, and all the like ghosts themselves are really like fun and differently designed and interesting. I think it's a fun watch.
That's a good pick.
Yeah, absolutely. Matthew Lillard absolutely kills it in that movie. And I think it was around mid 2000s that movie came out. I love the opening with the blood truck just spraying
Yeah.
blood everywhere. I love it. It's such a throwback, I think, to like, I'm gonna say like the 50s movies, ghost stories and stuff like that. Like everybody's like overacting and it's super cheesy, but like you just have such a good time with it. And like you said about the ghosts, like the ghosts are so interesting. And like I know fans are still clamoring for this TV like mini series where you just have 13 episodes and each episode is how a ghost was like created.
I'm still waiting for it.
Tell their backstories, you know?
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for coming on and talking about these underrated 2000s horror movies. I definitely have a few more movies that I need to watch now. So yeah,
I'm gonna hold you to Reign of Fire. I think you'd like that one.
Yeah, I will definitely check it out just because that sounds really, to me, it just sounds really goofy. I don't know why.
It's
I don't know
dead
if it's really
serious.
serious, but it sounds so dumb.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, but right, well, and of course, thank you all for watching the video. Go check out Our Life in Horror. I have them like linked in the description and everything, so go check them out. And until next time, bye bye.